Well, welcome into our mini TAB meeting, the alternative board with Coach Darin and Sandi and Robin from Best Office Solutions. I'm Neil Gordon. How's everybody today?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well,
Thanks for having us.
Well, sure. We're going to dive in sort of a case study on how business has been going over the last 6 months since we all joined TAB. But first, we want to get to know our two guests just a little bit. Robin and Sandi, how many years have you been partners together?
22 years.
Wow.
Yes, and we worked together probably almost
3 years.
28 before that. Yeah.
And for those who do not know the product line that you offer, what are your specialties?
So we do office supplies, office furniture, remodeling, project management, just anything you need for your office.
And even that
Chairs,
too, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, excellent. Coach Darin, what do you think of your prize students here?
Well, I'm very proud of them. I think I watch them in the board meetings once a month, and I really enthused that they jump in feet first, ask a lot of questions, absorb a lot of the wisdom, and I think the most important thing, I'm pretty excited, they take their commitments and the actions that they've learned from the board, and they go back and actually do something with it, and come back the following month and certainly advertise that with a lot of excitement. I think they're going to have some examples here today of talking about that, but the accountability piece, I think, really helps Sandi and Robin as well.
Why did the both of you want to join?
Well, we could see the need for accountability. Our business has grown tremendously in the past couple of years, and we need some peer-to-peer advice.
Yes, I just think that we are so busy, and we need to make time to work on the business instead of just in the business, and it's easier said than done.
Right.
But this makes us stop and reflect.
Do you remember, I think it was one of the first meetings we were at, and you asked them what their goals were, and I think they said that they needed to find really good employees. And what was your response to that?
What are you doing about it? And I saw
we looked at each other.
Surprised, I'll leave it to Sandi or Robin, but I saw a little bit of a pause and with a little bit of that's a darn good question. So I'll let Robin or Sandi take it from there.
Well, first of all, we have great employees, but we need to add to our team. And what were we doing about hiring at that moment? We weren't doing much of anything because we were so busy working in the business and growing the business. So TAB has helped us to have that accountability to add to our team.
Yeah, I think one of the complaints I hear from prospects and current board members is to what Robin said. They just are so busy and are being successful and growing the business, and frankly, the business absorbs them, and they're constantly working in the business, but really don't take the time to step back and reflect. And I'm going to say play general from time to time. Everybody's playing sergeant in the trenches and producing widgets day to day, but really sometimes you need to step back and sort of assess where you're at. And in these examples with Best Office, that they've been so successful that they got growing pains, and I think in a very good way. And we're all creatures of habit, and sometimes you want to continue to do business the way you've always done it. But when in fact your business has been so successful and grown that all of a sudden you start having some other issues. And I think that's what Robin and Sandi are finding a lot of value out of the TAB boards and then the one-on-one coaching that we do outside the TAB board.
That's right. And we should let everyone know the website is tabcsra.com. It is a peer-to-peer advisory board. We are three of about 8 different members from non-competing industries. And the part I like best, I would say, is I could just be myself. I don't have to worry that the information is going to go anywhere. And I can be maybe vulnerable. Or do you all feel the same way?
I love getting outside advice from people in other industries because we do have some of the same issues. And another thing, talking about making the time, Sandi and I have tried over the years to do a lot of things right. And we would go strategic planning sometimes twice a year. But then you do that and you're so overwhelmed with all these action items from that. And then it's hard to make them happen because you jump right into the business. This makes us stop once a month and it's a little bit more smaller bites to make things really kind of happen. So,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think if you could really boil it down, the board offers really two categories: that diverse experience and wisdom that Robin talks about. I think the current board that we have, there's about 170 years of local business experience from the CSRA. And so it's hard to replace all the scars and knocks and lessons learned that you may get hearing other people. And then the second category is the accountability piece that Sandi mentioned earlier. I can't say one, overweighs the other. I think many people need that diverse thought, but then there's other business owners that need that accountability. And I think all of us need it all, to be honest with you. But on any given board meeting, it may be that accountability that really was the value of the day. And the following month, the coaching session or the board session, it may be, hey, I heard something that was really unique that made me think differently.
And as we're recording this, we're in mid-February, but all of us went through a process at the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022. And how helpful was that to both of you?
Well, it was really helpful to set our goals for the year and realize, okay, what is our top goal, to kind of prioritize those goals as well. We have lots of different goals that we need to accomplish, but some are more important than others. And right now, ours is adding to our team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's give them a little bit of a shout out. I mean, we've modestly mentioned that they've really grown, but in the last 2 years, they have doubled their revenue. How many employees did you have 2 years ago, and how many employees do you have now?
The same.
No.
Yes.
How did you grow your business so quickly?
We worked really hard, and just 3 months ago, we did have a tremendous hire. In fact, we celebrated with a champagne moment at the board meeting. Thank you. On our recent hire, we're really excited about that. But basically the same number of employees, and everyone on the team is just really busting their tails and working hard. But we're working hard to make it where everybody can
breathe.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but when they approached me to join the TAB board many, many months ago, I think they recognized their business was driving their personal life. And I think having a successful business is fantastic, but not at the expense of making your quality of life just awful. And I'm not saying that your personal life was awful, but it certainly was, I'm going to say, upside down. You would like to think that you're controlling your business to support your personal life, not that your business is so successful it's driving your personal life in a negative way. And I think that happens to a lot of people. And one of the first things we do when we sit down with TAB is we try to talk about your personal vision and understand what you want in life. And then we segue to the company vision. I don't, frankly, get a vote on either one of them. These two share that with their peers at the board. But what I look for is their contradiction. They need to be aligned. And I think too often the company starts driving the personal versus the personal driving the company. And I think there's a lot of learning in that. And so that's something we really try to focus on right out of the gate to make sure that we understand the personal vision and the company vision.
Well, this has been a great chat, and if y'all will stick around, I think we should have a part 2. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
We do want to thank David and Chris from Augusta Podcasts. Wonderful hosts, really, to have us in several times during the month to share insight with business leaders. And if you'd like some more information and to see some case studies on some of the companies that they talk with, you can just go to AugustaPodcasts.com. We're very pleased to welcome the gang back here in the studios of Augusta Podcasts. Sandi Shields and Robin Baxley from Best Office Solutions, headquartered in beautiful Burke County, Waynesboro, Georgia, and Coach Darin Myers, who is the facilitator of TAB CSRA, the peer-to-peer advisory group that gets together on a monthly basis and gets personal coaching. And this situation is a little bit unique because we mostly have individual business owners that are around the table once a month, but they are equal partners. How did that come about?
Well, I think partnerships are, add a complexity. As we all know, the business model, there's a lot of pros of having partners, and there's some cons. And, I think these two ladies have had a very successful business, but as they grow, everybody needs to, communicate. They're pulled in many, many different directions. And I think the partnership theme has been something that has been very important to them as we talk about coaching. Sandi has a different strategy of maybe wanting to retire at some point. Robin still wants to stay in the business. So it's extremely important that there's a communication piece and an understanding and work through those issues. So I think partnerships can be fantastic, but they certainly, if not handled appropriately, especially when you have a thriving business like these two have, it can get out of control.
How has the alternative board helped your partnership?
Well, I think too, we realized that if Sandi was to go alone and she would be all pumped up and excited about all the things she gets from the board, if you're really not there, it's hard to feel that same vibe. So I think that us sharing that experience has definitely made it much more beneficial because, I might would kind of, combat that a little bit. I'm not sure. I wouldn't feel that same vibe and excitement. So we really do feel like.
We've learned that even going to conferences. Right. It's better if we both go. We might both learn different pieces of information. We might have some different opinions about some things, but we've both heard the same information. And we really wanted to both be on board with this. We said that, Robin and I don't like to waste two things, and that's time and money. And, of course, there is an investment. We found it's very much worth it. And then the time investment is worth it because, back again to the accountability, we know if we bring up an issue at a board meeting, at the next board meeting, somebody's going to say, now what have you done about that?
Right.
And you better have an answer or at least have accomplished some action items in regards to that.
Yeah, there's something about peers, and you're not looking at me. You're committing to your peers on that board that, hey, last month I committed I'm going to do this. And there is some psychological strength of, hey, I committed to some peers that I'm going to do this. And sometimes it's that extra oomph that I think helps people keep kicking the can down the road. You mentioned to me earlier that you had a strategic plan. I think Robin mentioned it earlier in the podcast of we used to go off once or twice a year and do strategic planning. And I think you both told me that really got excited about it. And within 1 or 2 months after you come back from that session, actions had sort of fallen off the map. The plan was on the shelf, hadn't been opened back. And I think the board helps those kinds of things where whether it's strategic planning or other actions that you've committed to, the peers help you keep on track and keep kicking the can down the road. Would you agree, or do I have it wrong?
I work well under pressure, and sometimes, it might be last minute, but I'm getting that action item done. So,
Right.
It gives me that pressure that I need.
Right. I was going to stop procrastinating, but I put it off.
Yeah.
I
do know.
I hear you for sure.
Does.
Yes.
I just thought for a moment, I just love your story. I love how you first started your company 22 years ago. It came out of a challenge, I guess, and you turned lemons into lemonade. How did it go?
Well, we both worked for a company that had been in business 63 years, and they were going out of business from some unfortunate internal issues. We learned a lot about what not to do all those years ago, too. And then Sandi and I were looking for other jobs, and our customers from that other company, they did kind of the same thing that we do now. We do a lot more, but they came to us and said, why don't y'all, start your own business? And we decided to just give it a try. And 22 years later, we've had a roller coaster ride, but it's been great, and we've learned a lot.
Wasn't napkins involved?
Well, a lot of people wanted to place the very first order for Best Office. And so we would take orders at church on Wednesday nights on napkins.
Grocery store.
You know, there's probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 customers that were our first customers because it took some time to get things set up. But another interesting part of that, while Robin was busy closing down the taxes with the other company and some of the business avenues, my mother and I scrubbed out our new location, which was an old meat shop in downtown Waynesboro. And we used 7 gallons of Clorox. I won't go into any more descriptive mode than that, but 7 gallons of Clorox to earn our first month's rent to take possession of that area, so that building.
I don't know if I can. I'm going to leave that one alone.
Well, I just think it just shows the teamwork and the foundation.
Yeah. And I would tell you, in 22 short years, we're starting in a meat packing facility to where you're at today is phenomenal. I think one of the things you told me, too, is what you've learned in TAB and the boards is you frankly wish you would have done it a little earlier. Mm-hmm. And I think there's just so much advantage of taking advantage of somebody else's wisdom or mistakes. I don't know if we leave every board meeting with just an absolute aha moment.
Right.
But there are many times where I think we all have, and those are what I'd call priceless, stealing the commercial of the priceless comment, because if you have somebody that tells you something that maybe prevents you from going off and making a real bad mistake, how much is that worth?
Mm-hmm.
Not just dollar-wise,
6 months,
time-wise, brand-wise, reputation-wise, and something that maybe even you wouldn't recover from. So those priceless moments, I think, are extremely important, too.
Another thing, too, that Sandi and I talked about years ago, we've gone to a lot of different things over the years, some things with the Small Business Development Center, and we've learned little snippets along the way. And we always said it would be cool if people were learning something from our life experiences and mistakes even and things like that. So it's fun when we can help these other business owners too. It makes you feel good about yourself that, you know, maybe help them steer in the right direction. So it kind of can go both ways and makes you feel good to do both.
I think I'm glad Robin brought that up. There's a tab board in Hilton Head that's been established for about 18 years. And of their original 9 members, 4 of them are still there. And from what I understand, those 4 like doing what Robin just said. Not only still receiving advice, but I think helping the next generation and the next business owner and conveying some of the experiences and hard knocks that they experienced and sharing that with future members. So I understand that. I enjoy that part of it as well.
Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know, each month, TAB board members get together and discuss issues or opportunities, and it's not always negative. It's not always a bad employee.
Oh, right,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Sometimes it could be growth, or it could be other.
Absolutely. You know, moving locations. I mean, look, what do we currently have present day here in February of 22? We got rising inflation. We got a society that has changed their purchasing ways. My wife told me the other day, she goes, I cannot believe the way I shop today. You know, I would have never thought I would be having things delivered to my house the way I do. I don't go to stores like I used to. We got labor in this so-called great resignation or great retirement. I mean, business owners are under a lot of stress and a changing environment. And so I would suggest that just because you've been successful up to this point doesn't guarantee success going forward, and getting to use other people as your board of directors and helping them give you advice and wisdom. Again, I'll go back to the word priceless. I just think it's worth its weight in gold.
Mm-hmm. And before we scoot, I know the number one, I guess, opportunity or issue has to keep up with your growth and find the right people. What type of teammate are you looking for, and what does Best offer that's maybe a little bit unique?
Well, we're looking for sales consultants. You know, we consider ourselves partners with our customers. So we need somebody that can fit into our team and help us grow as far as handling the business that is coming our way. And then we also need help in our delivery area, installations, things like that. That is a very, very critical department because they see our customer more than we see our customer a lot of times. They have that, personal interaction. And so it's very important in some inventory management and things like that. So we just feel like, we try to be competitive in wages, but we also, we really appreciate our employees. And I think most of them would tell you that's the case. We try to share our profits with them. We have some bonus structures that, even if we can't start you out what you're making in Augusta or something like that, we feel like we try to share every time we are successful. And so, at the end of the year when we look back, people aren't doing so bad when they work for us. So we're excited about that. So.
Well, that's a great question because if you remember last week when we had the board, I think that was one of your commitments is I think Robin said we just need to go back based on what I said, changing environment, go back and do a SWOT analysis, update that a little bit, and review your differentiators, your value, what makes you different, your red rose offering kind of idea, and really go back. So I believe that was one of your actions that you guys wanted to go back and sort of just regroup and make sure that what you think you currently have is the lay of the land.
Exactly. Well, and we're always trying to think outside of the box and be creative, and we're always searching for ways to empower our employees and also reward our employees. We, of course, do that based on profit because that is the responsible way to do that. So we're always thinking of different little incentives that we can do and ways that we can put money in their pocket. Because let's face it, if it's a hobby, if you don't get paid, and none of us are doing this for a hobby, and our employees are not either. They're doing this for a paycheck, and we respect that.
And the longer you work for Robin and Sandi, you truly make more money, $100 on your anniversary every year.
That's right.
And what's your oldest tenured employee?
$100 per year.
Per year.
So one of our employees recently received a check for $2,000.
Because he's
He's
been with us
20 years. That's, another, we're just always trying to think of, number one, how we can retain these wonderful people, but how can we reward them as well?
We call that the BLB, the best loyalty bonus.
Best for
There we go.
business.
That's right.
That's
right.
exactly
Yes.
right.
Hey, thanks to everyone. It's great to have a little mini tab board meeting,
Right.
if you will, here to share some insight. And the website is tabcsra.com. A second board will be forming in 2022 because Darin has done a wonderful job in encouraging business owners, and you're ready for some growth.
Yeah. Follow these two. 20 years from now, be where they're at.
Outstanding.
I'm excited for them. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thanks
Thank you.
to everyone.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be part of it.